The question is, in today's technologically advanced society, do smartphones compete with the most advanced DSLRs available on the market today? When we consider this, I want you to take a look at the following slideshow as we go over it, and I'll break down all the components of a camera, and I'll let you decide for yourselves whether or not smartphone technology has come to the point where it's a serious competitor for the prosumer or professional level DSLR camera that will be employed in making changes across the environment for what is considered the professional range of photography and what we view every day. So the question is, when you look at a particular scene, or let's say you take a picture, do those pictures interest you? What about other people? If somebody else looked at your pictures, would they find it interesting? Those are the kind of questions that every photographer attempts to answer when he takes a picture. And he composes every scene with some sort of intention of capturing a particular moment in time to preserve it, so that way other people will find it interesting, be emotionally compelled by it, be emotionally driven by some response that is intended, right? So clever marketing and advertising would suggest these days that a smartphone is not in a position technologically to be able to compete with a DSLR or the range of DSLR equipment that's available today. And my intention is to persuade you to realize that while technology has come a long way, it cannot compete with the sheer versatility and customization and capabilities of the average DSLRs today. So when we're looking at a particular scene or an image, what is the camera recording? It's recording light. It has to decide how to interpret the light that it sees. The camera does this in three particular ways. It records via shutter, aperture, and sensor. The shutter is going to record the time, the duration that light is recorded on the sensor. The aperture is going to determine the intensity necessary to record that light. The sensor is the overall potential of light being recorded on the sensor, how much that sensor can actually hold of light. So when you're looking at it, understand that those three factors is what makes up an image. When a photographer takes a picture or a smartphone takes a picture, whatever camera you choose, that's what's determining. Now, there are a lot of variety in how that works and a lot of functionality. However, even the best smartphones today will work on an automatic function. What does that mean? That means that you're limited to whatever the smartphone is going to interpret is the most correct exposure for that scene. This is an example of what a meter would read on a smartphone as a correct exposure for a moon. So there you go, that's the moon. However, is that the best exposure? No. This is a much better exposure because you can see detail in the shadows. You can identify that this is actually a moon, not just a bolt of light. The only way to do that is through custom control of the scene. Other controls would be things like starscapes, great snowscapes or anything like that would grant, in order to take those kind of pictures, you need custom control over your camera. However, the only way to do that is through a manual function camera. So that brings us to the hierarchy of photography. When we're looking at photographs, understand where the smartphone actually is placed in the greater scheme of cameras, right? So what we're looking at is general point and shoot cameras. Realistically, the smartphone falls within this range of point and shoot cameras. This is because of the limitations built into the smartphone. Because in the world of photography, size does matter, unfortunately. And a smartphone just doesn't have the size necessary to house the sensors, be able to control the lenses, and have the overall customization available to do pro-grade photography. Now, in the following slides, we're looking at the baseline of pro-grade photography. So this is a DSLR. This is the entry-level digital single lens reflex camera. And it goes up in range of hierarchy, and this is going to start from where the smartphone is going to be, which is a crop sensor lens, which is the same as the entry-level DSLRs. That's best case scenario for what your digital camera on a smartphone is able to record. But it's going to continue to go up to the full frame lenses, or full frame cameras. Full frame represents the best for a digital lens reflex camera with sensor capabilities. And beyond that, it goes to the pro level. So there's a wide range of capability available within the photography range, and you can see from the following chart how low the DSLR or the smartphone actually fits in that category. That's important to realize, because at best, understand capability and functionality, your DSLR or your smartphone is only at best a point-and-shoot camera when it comes to how it perceives light, how it's able to manipulate light, and how the end user is able to control that manipulation. So, over this presentation, I hope that you're able to understand that while the smartphone is a good tool for photography, it's simply a tool, and when given a task to record a scene or a moment in time, the smartphone is best used as I'm using it now, which is a tool to control a remote to record the scene for the actual lens that I intend to use, because the technology still isn't there for that particular use. At this time, this concludes my presentation.